Okay, I'm just going through Revelation 17 and trying to put it together a little bit. So it's very hard to explain, especially I'm not sure how to exactly do it sometimes. But I see something that's a little bit different than what I grew up believing, um, and I've just come to the conclusion that we have been deceived. But this is Revelation 17. Uh, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and he talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will shew you the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Okay, so we're seeing a great whore here sitteth upon many waters. And it is the same one that is, she carried me away into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So this is Mystery Babylon here, the great mother of harlots, right? So this great whore, and that sitteth upon many waters. Well, if you go into Revelations 17:15, it describes him. And he said unto me, The waters that thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Right? And he's also saying in 18, the woman, because the woman is the same thing, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city that ruleth over the kings of the earth. Right? Well, who is John talking about what that woman was? He's talking about Rome. That last beast of Babylon that got a deadly wound by the sword but did live by the Protestants, right? He is not the Holy Father, Rome, and they are not the mother of all harlots, right? But okay, so if this great whore is going to sitteth upon many waters, who is the false prophet, the one who has been adulterated with the kings of the earth by the wine of the fornication. Anyways, so here we go. Here's Pope Francis addressing United Nations.
During his visit to New York, Pope Francis condemned the misuse and destruction of the environment and the culture of waste on the UN floor Friday. It was a message Francis hammered home earlier this week during his White House speech, and which he repeated again before the world body, without naming any names.
I am similarly confident that the Paris Conference on Climatic Change will secure fundamental.
This is all part of the Paris Climate Accord. If anybody knows what Trump did and all that and what United Nations are doing. Right, he is sitting on many waters, right? Just like 15 says, and the waters which the whore sitteth are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. He is sitting on the United Nations, and whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk by the wine of her fornication. Well, what is wine? That is doctrine in the Bible, right? Strong wine, they've been made drunk because she has delivered strong wine. And what is her wine of fornication? Well, it is a climate covenant with 40 major religions and the world.
Calling on the world's faithful to join the fight to solve the climate crisis. 40 religious leaders gathered at the Vatican on Monday to add their voice to the growing chorus calling for world leaders to take real action to tackle the crisis. The Catholic Pope, Pope Francis, called the meeting, but preferred to let others speak.
I call on all young people, regardless of their religion, to be ready to fight against any action that may damage the environment.
It doesn't matter if you're religious or not. Yes, these are religious, but he just said it. It doesn't matter if you're religious, but we need to call on environment. And what is God's third commandment? It is don't worship anything on the earth or in the earth or underneath the earth or in the heavens or underneath the sea. And here he wants us to do exactly that. The Pope wants us to worship the earth through climate. through climate. This is the whore that he's going to kind of lukewarm it and be worship on Sunday. Climate, kind of, you know, if you're religious or not, but you'll give it unto God. But it's a false worship, right? It's a false worship. And the woman and the wine of her fornication. So she has committed. Now she has given the world her Laudato Si. United Nations has given the world her Laudato Si. So what is the Laudato Si? Care for our common home, and it's part of the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, part of the Paris Climate Accord. It's all attached, right? She is pushing the world for our common home, right? It's like UN climate. This is Project or Protect the Earth, and for all humanity. UN Climate Change Conference 2021. And here's a TED Talks on climate. Here's the Pope with his signing his new climate covenant with 40 major religions. Here is His Holiness Pope Francis addressing climate again. Pope Francis at climate actions, right? It goes on. He is fornicating with all the kings of the earth. Fornicating with all the kings of the earth, right? Yeah, and this is in the Laudato Si introduced to the United Nations, the beast which the whore Rome sits upon, which peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Sunday is our participation in the Eucharist, has a special importance Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath. Well, okay, so it's like the Jewish Sabbath. So it's an image of God's day, because they will worship the image, right? What's an image? Google what's an image. It is a copy of something. So like the Jewish Sabbath, the image, it is meant to be a day which heals our relationship with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Sunday is the day of, first day of the week, right? She doesn't even deny that it is the first day of the week, like the Jewish Sabbath, and it's a new creation, right? Well, God made Sabbath for man, not man made Sabbath for God, so that we know that he is the one who sanctified us, right? On creation, he created, right? On the seventh day, he rested from creating us. But it's interesting. You couldn't even. The Bible is so perfect. How can you predict this stuff that this would come true? Like it's. But knowledge. Daniel says in the end to seal up the words of this book till the end, as knowledge will grow rapidly and people will run to and fro. Right. Right. And she changed God's times, dates, and laws. I think it's here. It says times and times and dividing the time. He changed times, dates, and laws. What Daniel said, but. And here he's fornicating with the kings of the earth, right? And I could go through all the G7, all the Microsoft, IBM, all and Facebook, and all the church leaders. They have all met with him, all of them, from kings to queens to Elon Musk the other day. They are all giving their honor and power unto him, right? They will give their power and strength unto him, right? And then, and the 10 horns, right? So 10 horns and 7 heads, right? United Nations, 10 sustainable development regions where they want the world to come into, and I would guess that's going to be because of climate catastrophe, because when the fire comes down from the heavens, from God's first trumpet, and the dragon deceiveth them by calling fire to come down from heaven, they're going to want a new world because it will be under major destruction. Climate change is coming, but it is not what you would think. It is what God says it's going to be, right? He didn't move that sea for Moses one day before or one day after. Him and God moved that sea for the Israel to move through and destroy all the Egyptians on a dime. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the heavens and the earth, right? Right? He didn't darken that sun for 9 hours in the great earthquake right after Jesus died that same evening, because he's in control. He will protect his bride through the climate catastrophes, we'll say. Yeah, that's my crazy thought. And the woman was arrayed with purple and scarlet and with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand filled with the abominations and filthiness of her fornications. And upon her foreheads was name written, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Well, it's interesting. Okay, first of all, let's do names of blasphemy with the 7 heads. The 7 heads and 10 horns, right? Name of blasphemy, right? Okay, so I think that is name of blasphemy. Who is the Holy Father?
According to Wikipedia, the Pope, also known as Supreme Pontiff, Roman Pontiff or Sovereign Pontiff, is the Bishop of Rome, head of the worldwide Catholic Church, and also serves as head of state or sovereign of the Vatican City State since the 8th century.
Name of blasphemy, right? Names of blasphemy. I've done more on videos on blasphemy in Revelations 13, but that is the name of blasphemy. And purple and scarlet and decked with gold and silver, right? Yeah, it's interesting, having a golden cup in her hand filled with the abominations, and filled her cup with the blood of the saints during the Dark Ages, right? It just fits too perfectly. It fits too perfectly. And the woman was arrayed with purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones, right? And a great mother of harlots. And if you just even great mother of harlots, if you ask Pope says he is mother of all churches. Pope says he is mother of all churches. Doesn't want to quote. Pope says he is mother of all churches. Oh, well, I'll read it here. The Vatican has decreed that the Catholic Church is the mother of all churches and banned the term sister churches, right? I was trying to get Google to say that, and it usually does, but it's giving me a hyphen for some reason. So he's banning all sister churches. They all have to come under Rome to describe other denominations in 2 documents that could harm Vatican's efforts towards unity and believers. So that's just crazy how they say that, right? Pope says he is mother of all churches. Won't give it to me now. Anyway, okay, so he has decreed that he is already what? He is mother of harlots. He is the mother of harlots, not the mother of all churches. But he wants to unite the church, right? It's interesting how they have done that, right? And let's just see. She filled her cup with the blood of the saints, right? Filled her cup with the butter, and the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs. And when I saw her, I wondered in great admiration. Well, if you Google how many heretic did Rome kill?
According to static1.1.sqspcdn.com, for example, it has been estimated by careful and reputed historians of the Catholic Inquisition that 50 million people were slaughtered for the crime of heresy by Roman persecutors between the AD 606 and the middle of the 19th century.
Right, so they think 50 million, but there is estimates it could be up to 150 million because they won't open up their books for anybody to read how many people. But it actually is. And if you ask, what was the offense of a heretic?
According to History Extra, A. Heresy was an opinion about the teaching of the Catholic Church, which was condemned by the Church as inconsistent with it. From the early 11th century, many people accused of heresy were burned at the stake as a result.
Martyrs of Christ. Martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered in great admiration. And then it describes the 7 heads where the woman sitteth, and 5 have fallen. Now some will fall yet out of the G7, I guess, or it will be 7, I guess, in the end, because it's according to the Bible. But I just can't say enough. Like, I see something a little bit different. I think the main body of Christ has been deceived, and I think that they have to come back, because it says the covenant will be restored, and that is the covenant with Moses. But those are my crazy thoughts.